Hey, welcome to the Undercover Adventure Podcast. I'm Chad Christopher, and today we're going to talk to Lucien Scott. Lucien is a friend of mine and has two boys that are pretty awesome whitewater kayakers in their own right. Lucien's been someone I've been watching from the distance, just how he interacts with his boys and as far as getting them outside, getting them on adventures, letting them kind of explore at their own pace, and then also pushing him in a few areas and stepping back in a few areas. So I'm a big fan of his parenting philosophy and how he approaches taking his kids outside and getting them involved in semi-dangerous or semi-perceived risky sports. So I hope you enjoy the show. If you're around him for more than 5 minutes and you don't get stoked, there's something wrong with you, not him. So I hope you enjoy the rest of it. Well, dude, thanks for making the trek up here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was worth it.
We've been trying to do this for like 4 months.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad we did it.
But I'll do you a quick introduction. So you go by Luke or you go by Lucien?
People call me both.
Okay.
Lucien's my name.
Yeah.
And I introduce myself as Lucien, and I'm Lucien first. And people call me Luke all the time. And especially people who have known me for a long time my wife calls me Luke.
Okay. So, well, Luke Scott,
Yeah.
You're married, 2 kids from Chattanooga, awesome whitewater kayaker, just cool all-around dude. How did you get into kayaking? What was the impetus for...
My dad was a kayaker.
Okay.
My dad started paddling in the early 70s. He had a friend in college. He went to Alabama, and he had a friend who was just super into getting outside and exploring. And, I think my dad's first couple whitewater experiences were open boating the Chattanooga, Section 3, Section 4,
Okay.
and like a canoe with styrofoam block outfitting. And he just kind of fell in love with it. And I just kind of grew up idolizing kayak culture.
Yeah.
Thumbing through William Neely's guidebooks, playing in the backyard. We had a creek that flew through our property as a kid, and there were like 8 freshwater springs on the property, and the creek never ran dry. So I would like get in these plastic Tucker tote tubs and broomsticks and like get on my knees and just move things. I'd scoot down the creek, and I moved a bunch of rocks, like made my own little rapids, and would send sticks and pine cones down for days. And
what was the first adventure he took you on as a kid?
the first adventure, man, I went on so many adventures as a kid. I just grew up outside. It would be impossible to think about the first one, but
First whitewater one.
My first whitewater adventure, I went on the Mulberry Fork of the Warrior River, just north of Birmingham. First whitewater experience ever. It was New Year's Day, which New Year's Day kayaking is like a tradition for people and things like that. But for a 10-year-old kid who is, probably 5% body fat, and I know I had like a Farmer John wetsuit and a piece of fleece and a splash top.
Let's go.
Yeah, and it was cold. It was like ice, in the river, icicles hanging down. I remember swimming and being super cold, but like pretty stoked at the same time.
Yeah. So you had a great day.
I had a pretty good day. I was definitely really cold.
Yeah.
But I remember it just being, awesome and loving it. And it kind of being the culmination at that point in my brain of like, this is what I've wanted to do since I was, babe. I remember putting on my dad's gear and rocking it around the yard and stuff like that. I just put on the helmet and the life jacket and thinking I was cool. And
so did your dad teach you how to roll?
He helped.
Okay.
He tried his best.
Yeah.
I definitely learned how to roll through the help of the Strokers Canoe Club in Tuscaloosa and the University of Alabama Kayak Club.
Are you from Alabama?
I'm from Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born
All of my extended family's from Gadsden.
Okay.
That's crazy. I still go down to Huntsville area quite a bit, Gadsden area quite a bit.
I love it. My parents live in Gunnersville. My in-laws live in Tuscaloosa still.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm down there all the time.
So is that where you kind of started exploring as you started kayaking?
I did, yeah. So living in Northport, there's not a whole lot of whitewater options. So most of my early childhood days were spent on the Mulberry, the Locust, and flat water trips around the house. We're going to the Coosa.
Okay.
But it was pretty limited early on in childhood. I had, a couple weekend trips. We would go on adventures to the Nantahala or the Hiawassee or, a couple extended trips. But that was basically the extent of my kayaking world was.
Did you grow up outside? Were you outside a lot?
Every second.
Yes.
Yeah, I was kicked outside. I was forced to go outside, kind of like we as our kids. I think the more time they spend outside, the better off they're going to be.
Yeah.
They have to deal with things such as, the elements, the environment, situations that are kind of out of their control. They have to adapt. They have to overcome obstacles it's freaking cold outside. But oh, I got gloves or toboggan.
Yeah.
And so I definitely spent a lot of time outside. I think I grew up living a pretty feral lifestyle.
Excellent.
I think my parents really knew down in their hearts that I knew where the food was, and at the end of the day, they were confident that I was going to come home. Like I would come home to the food because I knew where the food was, and I would make my way back to the house regardless of where I was. And they didn't know. I think a lot of times my parents were, oblivious to where, where's Lucien?
Yeah.
Yep. And I had a,
when's the last time we checked in?
I had a bike, and I could ride to my neighbor's neighborhood. And I was, had probably like a 10-mile radius.
That's awesome.
That I was just like, county roads, pretty low traffic.
Yeah.
Got a helmet.
Yeah. Life is good.
Yeah. And I just remember definitely showing up at friends' houses and their parents, like calling my parents and being like, hey, yo, Luke's here. Like, can we feed him? Like, water him? Like, does he need anything? Like, he wants to bring him home. And, my parents being like, well, sure. Like, feel free. But he'll make his way back here if he needs to.
So when you got your driver's license, did you start traveling out a little bit more for whitewater?
So that's like when my kayaking, I felt like I really broke from my standard deviation. My dad's crew, for the most part, paddled fiberglass boats early on in their days. So they were like super conservative about missing the rocks.
Yeah.
And they were very conscious about scouting and rope setting and the hazards in the river. And I remember extensively scouting class 3 whitewater.
Yeah.
And
can never be too sure.
I definitely can't be too sure or too safe. And I remember, just keeping kind of like a Rolodex of people and started collecting some phone numbers when I was 14, 15, being, kind of like, hey, can I get your number? Maybe I can look you up with my dad. Maybe my dad can drive you and we can paddle. But when I turned 16, I got $800 Toyota. Gosh, what was it? Anyways, it's a tiny car. It's a Corolla.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 3-speed in the floor.
Wheels, let's go.
And after that happened, I remember just spending hours on Friday night in my parents' kitchen on the rotary dial phone, rolling through this like flipped composite notebook of phone numbers and people that I was like calling and be like, hey, can we meet?
Yeah.
Here we had that 1-800-LAKES-11 was the phone number in Alabama that we would use to collect river information. So you'd like call the 1-800-LAKES-11 and you scroll through like the whole digital index or, of numbers and like, oh, this reservoir or that reservoir. And then you could eventually find like the locust or the LRC or the Coosa. You could like figure out like kind of what you had some type of information about like what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And, today it's so crazy because, we'll change plans like on the fly, on the way to the river. Like we're pivoting.
Oh, that watershed got more? Okay.
Yeah, and we're just driving north. And sometimes we'll get in the truck, driving Chattanooga and leaving north. And we're just like pivoting on the way up there. Be like, oh, no, this has got more water. This is a better option. And back then it was like, hey, I'm going to meet you tomorrow morning at this gas station.
You better be there.
at 9 o'clock. And
the
plans never changed, And it was so crazy. But I just remember those days of getting that driver's license was like the first like time that I really like my kayaking game just ramped up.
Who was your like initial crew that you paddled with, high school and college and all that?
So my high school crew was my dad's crew, basically.
Yeah.
And then he had a guy, one of his paddling buddies, Frank Babb. Frank was by far the best kayaker in my dad's squad. And Frank was the first person I ever saw paddle a plastic kayak and like ramp up onto rocks to boof. And I was like, ooh, like that looked good. Like he got like his bow came up and stuff like that. And he was like, he had his edge on. So I started hitting up Frank, and Frank was super cool, took me under his wing. And then it really came down to like the first like real chargers that kind of swept me under the wing were Brad Hines, Mark Travis, and Keith Yale. And they were like, I remember, Brad telling me to give me the nudge one day.
You linked up with Keith?
Yep. Well,
dude,
thank God. Like
I
Keith
love
was
that guy. He's so cool.
I mean, he, Mark, and Brad were just so cool, and they definitely took me under their wing. And they were like, "All right, I remember Brad telling me one day, he was like, "All right, if you keep rolling up, I'll keep taking you down."
Yep.
And I was like, "Cool. Like I can roll up. Like I got this." And I just remember probably the first person I ever paddled with though was Bo Wallace. Was the first person that ever took me down anything. Like he ran me down the South Saudi.
Okay.
And he was the first person I ever paddled with that didn't catch an eddy. And it blew my mind.
Like,
and not only were we not catching eddy, we didn't get out for snacks. We didn't have lunch on the river. And when we got to the bottom.
You're just here to kayak.
Yeah, we got to the bottom. And Bo looks at me and he's like, hey, do you want to do another lap? And I have never heard those words in my life.
Right.
And I was like, we're going to do what? You want to do like the river section
time?
again? Like we want to reset the shuttle. And like he was like dead serious.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to like compute that in my brain. And I was like, but you want to do that again?
Yeah.
And he was like, do you? And I was like, yeah. And I think that was kind of that first initial like bang, like, ooh, game on.
Yeah.
At this point, and I was probably 16 at that moment. And it was just wild. So cool. That was like my high school crew, mostly my dad's crew. And I did have a few like really positive influences, like some Chargers, people who were really getting after it, who were kind of like taking me under their wing. But when I went to college at Alabama, I fell in with like my tight knit crew and had Jordan Sherman, Zach Nichols, and Sam England. And we stay in touch today, but Sam and I still paddle.
Yeah.
We paddled together yesterday.
What'd you major in?
Environmental studies.
Okay.
I got a minor in biology.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Describe what you're doing now professionally, because I think so we've taken our kids down there to that museum. So what's it called? The Childhood Discovery Museum in Chattanooga?
Well, we had the Creative Discovery Museum.
Okay. That place is amazing. Highly recommend. Like, our kids love that.
Yeah, me too.
So brag on that and then to kind of describe your role there.
Okay. So when I worked at the Creative Discovery Museum for 9 years, I was the assistant manager of science programming. But my main job was facilitating live science demonstrations for children on field trips.
Nice.
So kids could come in on a field trip and they would get like a 2-hour experience. Typically, they would do a 1-hour live science demonstration, which I was the science guy on stage, and I would talk about any topic that they signed up for, from matter, electricity, weather, energy, physics. And then from there, they would do like an hour hands-on workshop.
Okay.
And outside of that, when I wasn't either organizing or coordinating or actually performing the science demonstrations, I would curate and manage the science exhibits on the floor.
Yeah.
Specifically the live animals in the reptile exhibit and the dinosaur dig, and just kind of make sure that all the other science-based
stuff
exhibits on the floor were stocked and clean, and yeah, it's good.
Brag on that whole operation. Like,
the whole,
that place is amazing.
The Creative Discovery Museum is amazing. And it's really like an anchor for downtown. Everything between them and the Lookout Stadium and the aquarium kind of just brought the Chattanooga downtown out of the weeds and onto the main street, front page. And what they are able to do at such a low cost for the greater community and so many free events and so many, just charitable events, and the field trips there are pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I think it really makes it accessible for a lot of kids to come be exposed to things that they're not typically exposed to. And, now they have this whole renovated space where they've done like a massive renovation that's kind of started strategic planning phases when I was leaving, but now post construction, it's amazing. And the whole new space is completely renovated, and I love it.
I can sit there and play on that foamy boater area for hours.
I can play in the river. I can play in the river for hours. And that was definitely one of my exhibits. The river experience was just like, I was there all the time, even in my free time.
I know. I was there like with my kids, and I just turned around and I'm like, I'm soaking wet. This boat is like awesome. Can we stay here longer, please?
Yeah. And they had this cool
Mom,
fountain.
do we have to go already?
This cool fountain. Probably my favorite exhibit in the museum was like this fountain that had this completely laminar flow umbrella.
Nice.
It would, sprout out, around the fountain, and you could, laminar flow is one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
And just being able to play with it coming out of the spigot was just like, it's next level.
Well, one of the reasons why I've been trying to get you up here for so long is because I've seen a lot of people who push their kids too hard. And I've seen a lot of people that like their hobby becomes they like not force it on their kid, but because it's their thing, it automatically has to be their kid's thing.
Right.
And I've seen that done incorrectly, and I've seen it done correctly. And you're like, the way that you have gotten your boys into just outdoors in general, but like, you take them trail running, you take them kayaking, you take them like, how, like, lay that process out, because I know it didn't happen overnight, and I know it was mostly instigated by you and your wife and had a lot of motivation as far as like, you have to bring the stoke, you have to plan the trip, you have to make sure they're comfortable. Like how did you go about doing it from a small age to like a middle age to like where they are today? Whoa. I know a lot of people are very interested in that.
Yeah, loaded question.
I know.
And it starts early.
Okay.
It really started, I remember doing so many hikes with them in the chest papoose or in the backpack and just taking them on hikes and getting them outside, letting them play in the woods, letting them play in the creek. As soon as they could sit upright, basically, they were on their own, and I'd put them down next to the bank of the creek and let them play in the sand and get a stick and dig in the rocks, or like just kind of really immersing them in the outdoors from the second they were born.
Okay.
Always keeping it short, keeping it warm, keeping it kind of exciting was always the priority for me. And they, early they didn't have a say in it. Mm-hmm. It was just, they couldn't talk.
Yeah.
They couldn't talk back, and if they really did complain, they were typically, they might have cried or they might have gotten upset, but they typically just kind of calmed down. And when they did, they were still kind of immersed, full immersion in the outdoors. Mm-hmm. And I think by the time they even realized that it was happening, it was already routine. It wasn't like, if we're going to go, it's where we're going to go.
Right.
It's like, and now suddenly that hike was like, oh, cool. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go on a hike. It's not just if, it's when.
Where and when.
Yeah. And so I think they were kind of just immersed in this experience before they even realized it was happening. And
did
that
you and your wife do that a lot together before you guys had kids?
We did.
Okay.
Yes.
So your wife's totally on board with all of it?
Well, let's not push it too far. Yeah, she's on board. She's fantastic, and she's our absolute biggest sponsor. Like, we don't have a bigger sponsor than my wife and mom, as we call her. But Jessica's amazing, and she has definitely been an enabler for the entire process. There are times when she has to just trust the process, and just kind of let it go. Like today, it's 35 degrees was the high, and we paddled Clear Creek Canyon, and she was like, it's going to be really cold today. And I was like, they got extra layers. Yeah. Like, we put them in the bag. We talked about the process. And I think they were comfortable there because they've been cold in the past, and they've like kind of learned from these like natural experiences of like, oh, wow, I need to adjust myself appropriately because I know it's going to be cold. Mm-hmm. But like moving back to like, as younger kids, it just became about like the mission, the short, easy missions. Let's go find this cool boulder. Maybe it's 100 yards from the trailhead. Or there's a cool waterfall. It might have been a half-mile walk, but there's always like a destination or something different than like, let's just go on a hike. It was always something out of the ordinary to kind of spice it up. And as far as kayaking goes, I used to take them out flat water, like in the chest papoose, like on my chest, in my lap, in my cockpit, and we would just go paddle flat water. And I'd go out and get my workout in. I got to go kayaking. They got to experience it, and then we got to take a duo. It's like being in the duo. I had put one kid in the front. He had his little canoe. Mason would ride in the front with his canoe paddle. Ryan would be in the chest papoose. That's awesome. I think our first couple of runs down Clear Creek, we did that either Barnett to Jet or Jet to Lily sections. And I remember like no spray skirts, 2 kids, super small. Mason in the front with a little canoe paddle. Ryan's like just in the papoose with a life jacket on, and
that's awesome.
It's super wild. But like those experiences kind of built upon themselves, and it became normal.
Yeah.
And I think that like sense of normality in the outdoors and the adventure and the quest and the side quest, and it's not a matter of like looking at an obstacle and being like, oh, that looks scary. It's like, well, how can I tackle that obstacle? Like and I've always kind of given them the creative license to be like, yes, but what's your plan? Can we go to the top of that rock? Absolutely. Like, how are you going to get down? How are you going to come down? Are you going to try to down climb? Are you going to jump? Like, you got a plan? And so like, as soon as they were able to vocalize that plan, I'm like, did you really think about this process? And I think, this coming from, 2 and 3 years old, that whole, like, have you thought this through?
See, I think a lot of parents it's not that they don't want their kids to get outside and adventure and do crazy stuff. It's that a lot of times you have to bring the stoke. So you're the one that has to, you have to keep them excited and engaged in all those good things.
Yeah, I'm definitely an ideas guy.
But also you have to talk them through their risk mitigation process. And I think a lot of parents don't have documented in their own brain well for themselves. And so trying to translate that to a small person like that wants to take more risk than you're comfortable with. How did you go about like?
I think, I kind of grew up on the expression, like, give them enough rope to hang with themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, I've heard that. I heard that a lot growing up.
Yeah.
And I also had my grandmother tell me, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. All right, so I'm trying to instill both this, like, yeah, you got to let them take those hard hits. At school, I teach now, St. Nicholas School, we call it natural consequences. All right, so, like, yeah, you can climb up there, but if you fall, what's going to be the outcome? What's your consequences here? And I think just getting those kids to wrap their head around that at a really early age, and then, letting them put themselves in like safe places to fail. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the woods is a natural environment, on the trail, climbing over little rocks, trying to walk across logs and little skinnies, out in the woods, mm-hmm. like having them fall off those things, relatively safe.
Yeah.
But like letting them do it on their own, experiencing them, and even like doing it ahead of them. I think one of my biggest attributes to being a dad is I'm still a kid at heart,
I know.
And I tell people this, I tell these kids in my school all the time, like, I'm the biggest kid on campus.
Literally.
And they're like, Mr. Lucien, you're 40. And I'm like, fastest kid on the track.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
beat me. Yeah. Let's go. You want to race? I'll race you. I'll smoke you.
Absolutely smoke you. And so I think that's one of my biggest attributes. So I would walk across a log first, or I would climb the top of the rock first. And I still do this now. And now they're kind of beating me in a lot of things. I'm trying to keep up.
I make my boys work for it. I know it's coming. I know they're going to smoke me at all this stuff. But like, I'm going to hold them out as long as I can.
Absolutely. And people ask me like, what are you training for? Like, I'm training to keep up with my kids.
Exactly.
Like, I'm trying to stay ahead of my kids as long as I possibly can.
Yep.
And, I drop Ryan off at school every morning, and he's got to walk from like the check-in desk down this like breezeway. It's probably like 50 yards down to the cafeteria where I have to drop him off. And it's a full-on sprint every morning, dude. It's not even a question. Like, it's so beautiful. It's even a matter of like who can get out of the truck the fastest. It's awesome. It's that competitive nature that like I kind of instilled in them, but like they came about naturally.
Well, I think kids are just like from the get-go. They're testing boundaries. How far can I go? How much can I push this? And if you're the one out there getting after it, setting the example, they don't know any better. That's all they know as an example.
Yeah.
Like their immediate example is dad's out there crushing it.
Yep. Dad's doing it. I can do it too.
Yep.
And that kind of gives them a lot of confidence.
Yep.
They're like, man, I saw dad do it. Or like, dad's friends are doing it.
Yep.
And I definitely I fanned those flames as much as I possibly could, especially when they were super young, and just kind of let them take risks, let them take some easy falls. I was always had their back. I was always watching out for safety. Mm-hmm. And, always making sure I was in the right position.
How do you handle, because like I think, at least for me, in my experience, like introducing my kids to something difficult, because being outside in the elements, it's not fun. There's some days where it's not great. Like, how did you handle it when your kids were like, this is tough? Not that they wanted to quit, but that they were outside of their comfort zone. They didn't enjoy whatever was happening around them. How did you like push them politely and kindly push them and be like, hey, we signed up for this. This is what you're going to be a tougher person because of, like, how did you approach that?
Man, we're still working on that today.
Well, I mean,
and so really it comes down to back to early days. It was all about keeping it fun, keeping it short, keeping it warm. Mm-hmm. Snacks are on hand. And then I kind of slowly over time stressed and stretched each one of those boundaries individially.
Slowly.
Yeah. At first it was all about taking the days longer, but those longer days were always warm. It was always fun, and there were always snacks on hand. And then it was like, okay, well, we'll stress the length, and now let's stress the maybe the temperature just a little bit. We'll take that hike in a little colder weather, and we'll layer up. And then it was kind of like, oh, well, maybe some of these experiences aren't gonna be fun the whole time, mm-hmm. but there's going to be something fun about it. Okay. It might suck walking up the hill, but there's a cool waterfall, or we're going to eat some icicle popsicles. We're going to go up there and find some cool icicles and break them off and eat them. Or, there's going to be some kind of like silver lining to the process. And, the snacks are still the biggest thing for me. Like, we can't break the snacks, and the snacks are the driving force. And we did today. I had a bag full of snacks. And I can thank my friend Chrysler for that one. Crystal's always got snacks on hand.
Chrysler's the man.
He's the man. Yeah, he's great to hang out with. And we paddled with him yesterday on North Chick, and his spirit was us today on the Clear Creek. And I bust out these snacks, and even our buddy Goose was like, "Oh, we got Dad Christopher in the house." And I was like, "Yeah, but you know what? Do you want an applesauce pack? Because I got an applesauce pack.
Because I'm getting ready to eat one.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat an applesauce pack, and so like keeping the snacks on hand has always been paramount. But in these moments where I have kind of pushed it a little too far, either I asked too much of the length or the time, or the conditions either deteriorated or I just didn't plan properly, and we kind of got cold. It's always been a moment to sit down and reflect of like what kind of led to that moment. Like what decisions did we make to put ourselves in this position? Did we not study the map? Did we not do our homework? Did we not look at the weather? Did we not plan appropriately with daylight or time? And then the actual get out process is like, how bad do you want to be comfortable again? Like, do you really want to sit down in that truck with that heat on? Yeah, well, let's hammer right now. Like the only way out of this process is downstream or downhill or back up that trail. And the only way that you're ever going to be warmer, drier, and fed is if you get back to that truck. And so like, those are real hard lessons. And I've only had to, I'm not going to lie, there's definitely been a handful of times that we've been out there and it's like, it's not fun for anybody. I'm cold, I'm wet, type 2 fun all day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's there's definitely some times, but I think in my mind, I'm like, I always sell that nugget, that carrot on the end of the road. Like, if you really want to be comfortable again, the only way to do that is to get back to the truck as fast as you can. And that's always a selling point for the boys.
Because you're even outside of whitewater, like your boys are running with you. They're doing long trail runs. Like, how did you go? Because, I mean, you and your boys are kind of like an endurance athlete duo. Like, you guys are wild.
Fantastic.
And so how did you go from, because it's a big jump from going out into uncomfortable situations out in the wild as far as like the weather, the elements, the water, the river. Now we're going to suffer the whole time while we're doing it. That's a whole nother ball game.
Man. Yep. And so I'll just reflect back. We did 13 miles in Prentice Cooper the other weekend. Just for fun.
And how old are your boys right now? Just
Ryan's 10, Mason's 13.
Okay. So they're trail running 13 miles with you.
But I think we were doing like Big Daddy loops on Lookout, which is like 11 miles when Ryan was 6.
Okay.
And so to put that in perspective, like Ryan's on his like 5th year of like half marathon distance, kind of trail running expeditions out in the woods and shenanigans, as we call it. And it's a really hard sell.
Yeah.
I sell the experience, the views, and the benefits of the suffering itself is what I really try to sell to them. Is like, you're going to learn so much more from this trail run because you're going to test not only your physical endurance, you're going to test your mental endurance. Like, how strong is your willpower? Like, how strong is your brain? And then you're going to develop grit. You're going to develop determination. You're going to develop these things that are going to like, that are life skills that you can't teach from a textbook or in class.
Yep.
And they're going to learn these, fight or flight, do or die mentality things pretty early on, I think. And that gives them like a huge step up over a lot of kids who aren't doing these things. And they learn how to manage their fear. They learn how to manage their emotions. They learn how to like just realize that like, man, 6 miles is a long way to go. Like, it's 2 more hours back to the truck at this pace. Like, I better pick up the pace, or like, I need to eat some more food or hydrate. It's I sell them these big missions on like what they're gonna build on it, and we're always training for something.
Yeah,
I've always got that next goal. Like, right now we're looking at track season in the spring. Okay, and so I try to like always feed him little niblets I find on the internet. Like, hey, this guy says you should do some long, slow distance running to, build your stamina on the track. And I'm like, cool. They're like, oh, I should run long, slow distances? And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Like 15-minute miles, 20-minute miles. Like, let's go. And next thing we know, we're out there doing, half a marathon in the woods. And
what's the coolest thing you've done with your boys where you were like the most proud of, like them tackling their own fears or like them pushing through some of their own stuff? Because you had, man, I see your stuff. You guys are out there getting after it like every weekend.
We're doing it. Yeah,
we're doing
as much as we can. Man, I would say I'm most proud of them when I see them rein it in and say, no thanks. When I see them like look at something, look at a rapid, they've scouted it, they saw a couple great lines, maybe a bad line, and they said, Dad, not today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really want to do that.
When they're the most honest with themselves.
Where they're most honest and they, they have the skill, they have the ability, and maybe it's just not their day. They're not feeling it. Maybe they're a little cold. Maybe they just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And watch them pull over, eddy out, give me the stop paddle signal, get out, look at a rapid and be like, no, Dad, I'm gonna drive my boat around this one.
Yeah.
Like seeing them make those autonomous decisions by themselves without me having to intervene at all is like what makes them the most proud. What I would say what makes me the second most proud is when I see them absolutely fall apart. Like when they just, they fall down, they trip, they hit the ground, they tumble, they're bleeding, they got skint knees or skint elbow or bloody face and, they cry about it. It sucks, rough, they console, we hug, and then we sit down, we drink some water, maybe bust out the first aid kit, and we kind of walk ourselves through it, like out of that dark moment. Now we're standing up. Now we're going to walk it off.
Yeah.
We're going to rub some dirt on it.
You good? We're good?
We're good. Still breathing.
Yeah,
I'm still breathing.
Yeah.
Airway's open. Everybody's good, and now we're going to let's just see if we can walk a little bit and keep it going, or, maybe if you don't want to ride your bike anymore, maybe you can walk your bike for a little bit and then you'll realize that sucks and you should ride it again. Mm-hmm. Because pushing your bike on the trail is horrible. And so there's always these learning experiences. And I think I'm the most proud when I see them like either make their own autonomous decisions or like come back from the depths of despair and like, I'm sure that hurt. You went over the bars. Yeah, I know it hurt.
Yeah.
You got wrecked, dude. I saw it, I remember Ryan swam Grumpy's like from the top when he was like 6. And I was like, dude, you swam almost to staging eddy before I could get you and your boat. And I could tell like he was just emotionally devastated, So we sat on the bank for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, ate some snacks, watched a bunch of people play on the wave. And then he kind of like, pulled himself together, got back on the boat and kept going. And those moments made me more proud than any of the achievements. Like, I always try to sell them short. Like, yeah, you won that race or you placed that well because other people didn't show up. Like you might have podiumed that 5K or won that 5K, but you only did that because the 10,000 other people who were faster than you in that event didn't sign up for that race.
Yeah.
Like, so good job on your kudos and your accolades and winning that race. But like, let's not focus on that. Let's focus on like what you overcame to get there. Like, those, so I try to celebrate those like kind of moments where they themselves manifest their own like power and well-being and like overcome their obstacles.
So like that specific instance you were talking about at Grumpy's. So I've experienced this a little bit in my own personal life. How do you handle when other people try to tell you that you are not being a safe parent?
Whoa. Yeah.
Because
not very well.
No, I don't handle it.
Hard.
I honestly am kind of at a loss for words because like the audacity for someone to try to interject their opinion into your personal relationship with your kids seems a bit overreaching.
Yeah. But
at the same time, they don't know what they don't know, and they don't know the hours that you spent to get to that point. Like, how do you handle that?
Right. I'm gonna go 2 examples from both boys. First was Mason. I would say Mason was 4. And I had taken him to the takeout of the bowling alley. And he is in his Dagger Dynamo. He had just gotten, he was super stoked. It was a warm day, pretty good flow. And he had been paddling on flat water. We'd done a lot of flat water paddling at this point in time. He'd probably had, over 100 hours of sea time. But he wanted to play in the current. And so I was like, cool. I'm not in my boat. I got my swim trunks on. I got a life jacket on. He's got his boat, no spray skirt. I can tell there's this like older group of kayakers, seasoned kayakers on the bank who are definitely concerned about the situation. Very concerned.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, what are you guys doing? Where'd you come from? Where are you planning to go? And I'm like, well, we're just going to, paddle here in this pool. We're going to play around this eddy line. We're going to see what's going on. And they were like, oh, your kid, is he going to be okay? And I was like, I don't know if he's okay or not. But like, we're going to find out,
Yeah.
And so Mason goes out there, and I'm expecting him to just like kind of tool around. But he goes straight to the top of the eddy. right into the meat of the flow, flips over, swams instantly. And I was like, great. So they go, like, these set of paddlers, they kind of go hyper for a second.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, please, Mason, come on. And Mason pops up, and he's got his paddle in his hand. And I was like, whew, first win. And then he turns around, and he, like, grabs the bow of his boat on his grab loop and starts just kicking back towards shore.
Yes.
And I was like, absolutely. And then he, like, self-rescues his gear right in front of this group of people who were definitely kind of giving us a lot of anxiety.
The stink eye, yeah.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
And after that, they helped him drain his boat. They gave him some nucks. He gave them nucks, and it was like, everything was kind of mutual. But I was definitely kind of a backseat on that one. Another time was when both Ryan and Mason and I were trying to put on the Hiawassee. And I would say Ryan was 4, Mason 6. So, like, Ryan's super young, but he's in his own boat, totally capable. He's on a sit on top at this point. I was, running like a flat water lifetime wave from Walmart. But it was so easy because, like, if he fell off it, the boat didn't swamp and he could just get back on it, and it was super easy to self-rescue, me to rescue him. So this lady at the put in of the Hiawassee was very anxious about the decisions we were about to make. And I mean, she had a full face helmet on.
Did she have the T-bar?
She had the hockey cage.
Let's go. Oh, she went all out.
Yeah, she had the hockey cage. Okay. So she was nervous about the Hiawassee. And so she literally stood in between us and the river and was like kind of blocking us moving side to side. And she was talking. And basically I explained to her that I was like, ma'am, I know that you are out here to pushing your own limits and you feel stressed, but I was like, they are completely in their comfort zone. And you don't know this right now, but they're going to be okay. Like, they've done it before. They're going to do it again. And she was really not okay with this until Mason rescued her at Thread the Needle.
Awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Dude, he was like, she swam. He was like right there on her, got the stern.
Grab my bow, ma'am.
Yo, go, boom, got her on the stern, paddle over to the eddy, and I was like, can I help you?
Yeah.
I know she was super uncool to put in, but
awesome.
I really did my best to hold my cool and just kind of be like, hey, ma'am, I know we don't know each other, but like, I know these boys way better than you do. And I wouldn't put them.
Promise you I love them more than you do.
Yeah. And I would not put them in a position where I felt they were unsafe. And that even goes today, like, dude, Mason's running suicide LRC. It's like, he's
run there before?
Yeah. Several times.
Wow.
And it's hard to watch him do it, but to see him be like, yeah, I got that. I want to run that. And it's, it's like, but I didn't put him there off the bat. He wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't after we ran the upper 2 a couple times and he felt really comfortable on Humpty Dumpty and Deep Throat. And it was like, he's good. He knows what he's doing, wants to do it. But, even now, I don't think, at least to my face, most of my kayaking friends don't tell me no anymore. They look at the boys like, all right, cool. Scout boys are here. Like,
dude, they're showing us up now.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part is like, they're getting after it.
And today on Clear Creek, we had 2 other people in the group that were definitely not adequate, or comfortable on Clear Creek and Obed. And it was just awesome to watch Ryan up there. PFD, he'd never been here before. He's out there like bird dogging, scouting lines, catching eddies, giving people paddles up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
How proud are you whenever you see them like go like, because they're ticking some things off. Like they're knocking stuff out. Yeah,
they're looking for the green. Mason wants to run the green. Ryan wants, Ryan said his goal this year was to do 5 PFDs. It's terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. Mm-hmm. It creates this like wonderful bliss of anxiety, I guess, almost, but also like anticipation. It feels like Christmas every time it rains. Like, what do they want to do? And sometimes like they don't want to do it, and it's great. Like that's my day to like, woo, going to the bear. I can go like, I go chase rain with my friends or whatever. That's stuff I can't do. I don't chase rain with them. I don't ever like. Everything's got to be real calm, cool, calculated before I'll put them on the water. Yep. Definitely levels are dropping. I've been there before. I got to handle the wood situation. Those kind of things. I feel like I don't ever want to put them in that position where they're like, their lives are really risk because of a faulty decision that I made. I don't want to push them. I'm not going to push them. So I feel most proud when I see them kind of like setting their own goals and kind of chasing after
reining
those goals
themselves back in.
Yeah, and then also like checking themselves.
Yep.
And yesterday was a great example. We knew that North Chick was going to come in, but we didn't know how high it was going to go. And all the indicators were there. The rain had fallen, the proper amount of rain had fallen in the watershed. We saw the visual gauge online. It was going straight up. We saw that suck was coming in, which is also a great indicator that North Chick's going to run. And we're like, all right, cool, we're going. And Ryan's like, well, what's the level? And I was like, wow, man, I don't really know what the level is. We can look at this online gauge here. It's going straight up the pipeline. And he's like, I'm going to stay with Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, that's a fantastic call.
That's not a bad call, bud.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, Mason was kind of like, Dad, I trust you enough on this one that I'm going to go, but I'm a little older. And then Mason's run Kane and Chick a couple times. It's like, it wasn't as stressful for Mason being a PFD for Ryan, being like, Dad, I don't want to go up there if I don't know what the level is.
Yeah.
If it would have crested and it's coming down and we knew it, he would have been way more on board. But like watching him pull that plug on himself yesterday and being like, oh, Dad, I know you guys want to go, but I don't want to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, it wasn't like we had a couple other options on the table, but he was like, I don't want to like hold you guys back from doing a cane run because he doesn't know how sick it is, but he knows his cane and his North Chick is freaking awesome. And he didn't want to hold us back from that experience, but also knew his own limits and his own abilities and was like, yeah, I'm gonna sit down today.
How like when you go paddle with your buddies, like you go get a day where you go chase water with your friends, how do you, I don't know, I guess how do you talk to them about like, Dad needs to go do this for Dad? Like how do you break away and that's your time? And because I think a lot of people who are parents, and I mean you're kind of in a unique position where your kids love what you do too.
Yeah, very unique.
But like how do you explain to them like I really need to go just hit a reset real quick?
So I either sneak out of the house.
I don't tell them. I just leave.
Anything. I don't say anything to them, and I just do it. I talk to Jessica. I get the plan laid out, and I'm like, hey, tomorrow it looks like it's going to be a powder day.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to have to go.
I'm sorry, but I just got to leave.
But I try to really, I feel like a great job of just stepping down from my own goals, my own aspirations, my own ego, really. Pushing myself on the kayaking scene isn't something that I'm like super interested in doing. It's more about spending time with them. And, nowadays I will skip a bear day to go to Whites Creek any day of the week. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, if I'm going kayaking with my boys, I don't care. Like, there's been so many times where I've been in the parking lot at North Chick and everybody's like, let's go to the top, Cane Creek's in. I'm like, we're just going to do bowling alley laps.
Have fun.
Hey, have fun. You guys have a great day. I'm going to have a great day. And, I really have, I wouldn't say pulled the plug on my own, like, ambitions and goals and stuff, because I definitely have my goals. I definitely have, my objectives that I want to accomplish. But I don't mind missing out on big days. In fact, there's a lot of days that I'm just glad that I didn't have to go. Sometimes like, I got to choose between Henderson or like the Piney Play Park. Like, I'm going to go to Piney Play Park all day,
Right.
Like, I don't need to go get stressed out and run class 5 and scare myself, put myself in a really dangerous position.
Or I could just catch eddies all the way down Richland.
Yeah.
That sounds way more fun.
Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're on the fence on Richland. I don't think my guys are strong enough to get their own boats to the top yet.
Yeah.
So that's one that's like kind of on the tick list for us right now. I think they could get to the bottom of like the top of the big 3. They could get to that spot, but once that trail starts getting steep at the top, and they've already been hiking for over a mile, that kayak is heavy.
That's a lot.
I can see it. But we definitely want Richland. It's on that tick list. And I think it's going to go down pretty soon for us, but fingers crossed. It's always, water level dependent and everything like that. But
so does Jessica like whitewater?
Jessica tolerates whitewater.
Okay.
Yeah, she will. She's a class 2 connoisseur.
Because Martha's paddled the Hawassi. She's gone down, like, she's done the Ocoee and a duo with me. But she is, like, she loves rafting, but she does not enjoy that, like, thrill. Like,
no, Jessica does not at all. And she's definitely an enabler. She'll go with it. She'll side shuttle.
Yeah.
But the boys and I have been hard up on like trying to get her a dry suit and get her to like, you need a dry suit. She's like, if it's so cold that I need a dry suit, I'm not getting in the water. Like, I'm just not, it's not something I'm going to do. And we were both raft guys. We both worked at NOC. So she's got river experience. But she's also, kind of gotten thumped a couple times out there.
Yeah.
And been like, wow, that's really powerful.
That really sucked.
That sucked. It was cold. I got scared. And so she definitely is not as stoked on it as we are, but she will go anytime, especially, all those open-ended questions like, hey, what are we going to do today? Is my favorite question to kind of throw out there. Like, what do you guys want to do tomorrow? And I might even seed that with like a scope at the weather forecast or like, some river level check-in and like, so like, what do you guys want to do tomorrow? And they're always like, let's go kayaking. And she's always just kind of like, sigh. She hates I can see it. She's like, oh, man, really again? And so kind of uses that temperament. I'm like, all right, cool. Did that mean, yes, we're going kayaking on a half-day mission? Or do we need to go early or go late? Like, she obviously, then, of course, she's always like, yeah, Hawassi, or, she's run the pigeon and French Broad. And, but I can tell that it's not her thing. But she's great about being a trooper and just signing up and going on the trip. And, she's good at reading books, likes hanging out with the dog in the car and taking naps and kind of hanging out on the campsite while we're doing things.
What do you think is like, this is a super loaded question, but you and Jessica's parenting philosophy, like what, if you had like a 10,000 foot view, like an overall parenting philosophy piece of advice that you could pass on to people, what would it be?
Jessica and I's parenting philosophies are extremely opposite, like a yin and yang.
Well, then what's the happy compromise?
And so I think it's all about trying to find a balance in between the two. Jessica is super loving, very caring, very attentive to detail, very protecting, very guarding, and, very loving, warm, and safe environment. And I, outside of the loving part, love them to death, but I am almost the exact opposite.
You're like a bull in a china shop.
And I think it's great. Yeah, I hate to use the word helicopter parent, but Jessica is hovering over these guys a lot of times, constantly like, where are they? She's got them on some GPS watches so she can track where they're at, and knows, kind of what they're doing. And I love that aspect because she really genuinely cares about their health, safety, and well-being. Mm-hmm. And me on the other hand, I'm like, cool, I do love you and I respect you, but I'm gonna give you the freedom that you need to kind of be yourself, do your own thing, push yourself in ways that you feel comfortable pushing yourself. And I think if I had to give parenting advice to anybody, it would be to step back, talk to your kid instead of like interjecting themselves and doing your thing, see what they want to do, and proceed from that moment. Because it really has to be your kid's interest. Mm-hmm. And if it's not their interest and they're not interested in it, they're not going to want to do it. And because my kids just kind of grew up outside and doing adventure things and going on hikes and bike rides and, exploring and kind of pushing these boundaries of physical limitations, their own personal physical limitations, they don't really know any other normal. And so they don't question that normal. And I feel like even nowadays, I ask them what they want to do, and it changes day to day. Like 3 years ago, I had to learn how to ride a skateboard because we weren't big skateboarders. And I was like, skateboarding, never done that before, but
all right.
They're like not super expensive and we can get the pads and there's a skate park in Chattanooga. And I had to go learn how to like push and roll in and do things on the skateboard. And I was like super stressed. And I was out there like fully padded up, helmet on, everything. And all the cool kids at the skate park would call me Rad Dad. And we were there like hard and heavy for like a year. And I was like, I learned how to skateboard to some degree. I learned how to like at least ride it confidently. Never really got good at dropping in, but I definitely dropped the quarter pipe a couple times and was like, well, that was super stressful. Not for me.
Yeah.
But I learned to bend your knees, keep your center of gravity low.
That's
and
awesome.
tuck and roll kind of thing,
awesome.
And it was so cool, like seeing all these people at the skate park and the skate community, like kind of take me in and take the boys in and like coach me as much as they were coaching them, being like, I can tell you're scared, bro. And I'm like,
I'm terrified.
I'm super scared. I do not want to get slammed at the bottom of this ramp. This concrete down there is hard. And, but then they quit skateboarding. And they just like, one day it was like kind of like, hey, Dad, what do you guys want to do? And like now it was mountain biking. I was like, cool, we can go ride bikes. And so we started biking. We bike all the time. And we have Wallen Ridge in Chattanooga, and it's super scary. It's bit steep, big jumps and big rocks and things.
That's my oldest's thing. He's 14 and he's the mountain biker.
Okay.
And so he's always like, Dad, come on, keep up. But now he's getting to the point where he's like, there's some stuff I don't want to, like, man, have at it.
Absolutely.
That is all you.
No, I cannot hang with the guys on the downhills anymore. But I can crush them on the uphills.
They're so light. They float. So they'll hit it and they'll just float through the air. And then the impact on the down is nothing. Right. I'm like, if I don't nail this, I am eating that bank right there.
100%. Yeah, back to kind of just letting them explore their own things. Yeah. We recently picked up disc golf.
Okay.
And it's something that I maybe dabbled in through maybe like 2 or 3 rounds in college. It was kind of like, no, not really my thing. Frisbees are cool, but like the whole disc golf thing, not really what I want to do. And then one day they were like, Dad, we want to play disc golf. And I was like, cool. I have some of these old discs. We found some discs out at West Chickamauga Creek. We were kayaking one day and found some discs in the creek. And so we had probably like, I don't know, half a dozen discs or something like that. And I was like, cool, we'll take a handful of the discs. And now they're like disc golf junkies. They got discs for Christmas and they got a basket for Christmas. And they're like, yeah, I want to throw discs every day. And now it's like, whoa. We're talking about this on the way up here. They were like, can we go play at the Sinks tomorrow after school? And I was like, boys, the bowling alley's in. And they were like, okay, reset, reframe. Let's think about let's prioritize. They're like, we can play disc golf and ride mountain bikes when it's not raining, but when it's raining, we probably need to go to the bowling alley. And they were like, you're right. Like, good call, Dad. Like, thanks for reeling us back in.
What's been some of the mountaintops of you personally? Like when you think back on like some of your, adventures without the boys, because you're an ultra runner, you're a pretty hard hitting whitewater kayaker. Like, what's some of the mountaintops as far as adventures that you're proud of?
Paddling in Colorado as a preteen, as a teenager, was sick. Getting to go out there as like 10, 12, 14 years old, paddling in Colorado, next level, getting to run numbers and explore Colorado. Yeah. Definitely was momentous in my childhood. Being a whitewater safety boater on Section 4 of the Chattanooga was like paramount, like pinnacle of like, oh man, I get to go kayaking every day for like 3 months straight. And Section 4 was awesome. And we had a high water summer. One summer I worked over at the Chattanooga, and that was next level top of the list. California, anytime paddling California, but I went to California in 2009 and I was like, oh, that's pinnacle, but now it's just seeing these guys. I would say this year, last fall, I was following 2 like homies of over 20 years, and my kids were up front. And they just routed into 7-foot falls in Section 4. And just Ryan, Mason, 2 of my homeboys back to back. And just watching this like Blue Angel train come into section, into 7 foot, no scout, no question, no hesitation. Man, it's like you just can't. God, you can't create that. It's like you can't recreate those feelings you get. And just watching this one after another, like my kids just Blue Angel led my homeboys into a freaking awesome rapid that I've, loved for so long. Yeah. Yeah, that's, just paramount, next level. Yeah, big back energy, what the kids say these days. Yeah, big back energy. Yeah.
I don't know. My kids come home with like different phrases, and I'm like, I'm too old to incorporate that. I'm sorry.
Now I'm actively trying to learn a new language. But, teaching in 2nd grade, like I have to stay up on this culture because if I don't, I'll fall behind, and I can't fall behind. And so like I'm actively trying to learn this whole like brain rot culture.
So what are you doing now? What's your day job now, and kind of like what's your how do you approach your, because you're teaching correctly?
So I teach 2nd grade math and science at St. Nicholas School. And again, I took this job specifically because it aligned with my boys' school schedule.
Do they go there as well?
They do not go there as well. Okay. So they both attend public schools. This is a private school. That's kind of Jessica and I's just philosophy on life is, they should probably be inundated in the culture they're going to be like living in for the rest of their lives. And private school culture is kind of a microcosm, almost an echo chamber of a lot of privilege.
Correct.
And I think my kids go into a public school system, they see kind of the real world. and they see how it's going to be for the rest of their lives and kind of interact with people who are way different from them. They come from all different socioeconomic backgrounds that face challenges that they'll never understand. My kids, being pretty privileged, will never see the hardships that some of these kids as they go to school face. And I think that's like a very powerful life lesson that they're going to pick up through the public schools. But, you know, my job at St. Nicholas School is fantastic for me because, you know, one, I needed to move from the museum. I was tired of like working when my kids are out of school, being off when my kids were in school. It led to a lot of kayaking, especially in the middle of the weekday. The workday kayaking schedule was great. But I needed to have the summer breaks off and those winter breaks off and fall and spring break and the holidays where it's nice to have that off. And the freedom of being able to leave work and close my computer and leave it at the office and not have to touch it until I walk back in the next morning. I mean, this is so good for your mental like health and well-being to be like, oh, cool, I don't have to do work when I'm not at work anymore. Because my job at the museum, I always feel like I was working all the time. Even on vacations, I was, you know, answering texts and emails and phone calls, and it was a lot, you know. You know that life.
I know.
Yeah,
Listen,
you know that life.
I get it. I know how it goes.
And so I feel like, you know, this job kind of gives me the freedom, the flexibility, and the time off.
Yeah.
And so I'm in it and told they're out of grade school for sure. But my second job, because I'm a school teacher, I have two jobs, which is unfortunately the social norm, is I'm a whitewater kayaking coach at Ace Kayaking School.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Play Ace a little bit.
Play Ace. Man, I love playing Ace. Coaching kayaking is probably my favorite thing. I love kayaking. Like, can't even get into it. But being able to share the joy and the stoke of whitewater kayaking with other people is, my passion. I love teaching. You know, I love teaching at the museum, but even before I was at the museum, I worked at outdoor recreation. I taught backpacking classes. I taught kayaking 101 in Alabama. Before then, I was a merit badge counselor at a Boy Scout camp, and I, you know, taught canoeing and rowing and whitewater kayaking merit badges, and I just love teaching. And so to, you know, leave school for 2.5 months in the summertime and get to go to the Ocoee and go to the Hiwassee and just coach kayakers. It's so much fun. And I call myself a coach, not an instructor, because I feel like instructor like brings like a lot of baggage with it, you know, like, you know, what certification do you have? You know, how elite are you of an instructor? And so I refer to myself as a coach. Like I'm out there to kind of push people's boundary. And I do the same with my cross country coach. When I coach cross country in the fall at school, I push my students. I push the runners, and I try to make them better. I take what they have, we work with what their advantages and their disadvantages are, and we try to make it better. And I do the same thing with my whitewater, you know, students. And I just try to push them. And I got a complaint last summer. It was beautiful. Somebody complained that I kept making them go back out into the whitewater.
When they signed up for a class.
They signed up for a whitewater instruction class. And they were a confident Ocoee paddler that was taking an advanced whitewater class on the Hiwassee. And so I'm going to put them through the ringer.
Right.
Like, we're going to do things. We're going to surf the waves. We're going to get in the holes. We're going to catch the eddies. We're going to make the attainments. We're going to do the ferries, and we're going to go. And I was, you know, constantly giving the student, you know, constant feedback. But I was like, all right, try it again. You know, and by the end of the day, she was, you know, whooped, tired, exhausted. Yeah. And I got a negative review. And I was hilarious. Like, you know, it's hilarious, you know. And of course, you know, Joe and Haley were kind of like, LOL, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, what? You signed up and got pushed?
Why do you think ACE is so awesome? So, like, describe, because Joe's awesome. That whole program's great. Like, talk about how you, like, your philosophy on teaching kayaking, and then why ACE is just crushing it.
So, just like I raise my kids, I take those students who sign up for these lessons, and I want to comfortably push them as far as they are willing to push themselves. Now, I'm not going to make them do anything they don't want to do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them all the tools they need to set themselves up for success. They're going to have the right gear. They're going to have the right strokes. They're going to have the right timing. They're going to have the right boat control skills. They're going to know to read the water. And then once they have those fundamental building blocks, we're going to kind of build that scaffolding up from the bottom up, one layer at a time. And once they have that row of scaffolding built, we're going to add on top of that. You know, and we're going to kind of push it as far as they want to push it to get whatever it is that they want out of this program out of it. You know, some of them, they just want to come in there and exercise. Great. So let's just get a kayak routine that works for you, where you can go get some cardio in. You're going to need some stroke technique. You're going to need some body mechanics.
Let's go to the lake.
Yeah, let's go to the lake. Yeah. And, and some of them are like, you know what? I want to go to the Gully. It's like, cool. Let's try this. Have you been to the Hiwassee?
Yeah.
You heard of the Hiwassee? And so my philosophy, I feel like, of giving the student all the tools that they need, making sure the toolbox is full, making sure that they are set up for success, that I have mitigated as many risks as possible. Maybe we're going to put in a slice and dice and take out a go forth. Maybe we're just going to do go forth down and walk table saw. Making sure that I've kind of like made a good game plan. I've shared some advice. I've shared some stoke and some enthusiasm, and I've set them up for success so that they are ready to go and manifest themselves into whatever they want to be. That's kind of my philosophy, and I feel like it really fits so well with what Joe and Haley are doing at ACE. It's what a great group of individuals.
Yeah.
And to get to work alongside of Joe and Kirk and Mark and just stellar kayakers.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are super.
World
not only are
class.
they good kayakers, world-class kayakers, they're world-class people, individuals. Mason was reading some guidebook from Kirk on the way up there, and he was like, I don't have to know who wrote that article. I just had to read it and figure out how many big words were in it, and I knew that Kirk wrote that. And I was like, yeah, you got that, buddy. And, Ryan's like, yeah, Kirk's super smart. And I was like, yeah, he is super smart, and that's like what makes him unique is that he's like hyper intelligent, but he's also hyper focused.
And he's a crazy athlete.
He's a crazy athlete. He's super strong on the hike, on the climb, on the bike, and like
he was in here like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
that man's just like, he's got a wealth of knowledge in like
stud.
multifaceted. He's
And you look at Joe, and Joe is just a beast.
Yeah.
And can go kayaking so much and still share stoke and enthusiasm beyond anybody's imagination.
Yep.
Of like, oh man, you go kayaking 250 days a year and you're still jazzed about this. Like,
you must really like.
you must really like kayaking.
What's the best way for people to book a lesson with you, or book a lesson with Kirk, or like how can they get in touch?
acekayaking.com.
Okay.
Yeah, Ace Kayak School. The website, got an open portal, got the phone numbers on there. You can submit an inquiry online, or you can call the direct number.
What would some things that people need, like let's say they just found whitewater, like this is now my sport, I'm now addicted, this is awesome, I want to learn how to do this. What mindset do they need to be in when they're like, okay, I'm going to learn these skills?
I want to learn how to kayak. That's the first step. You got the right mindset. You gotta have a willing mindset. You gotta want to learn. You gotta be able to come into a situation that you realize that you know nothing about, and that you have to humble yourself to say, hey, I know nothing about this sport, but I want to learn. That's the first thing. Like, if you want to learn, great, you're teachable, and you're going to be A-okay at ACE, and you need nothing beyond that. Some internal motivation. Like, you have to be intrinsically motivated to do something. You have to make yourself do things. You can't be coached and somebody, telling you to do something all the time. You have to want to motivate yourself to do these things. And then beyond that, you need nothing besides a great attitude and some snacks. And when you have those things in place, you got this willingness to learn, a little humble mindset. You are open to try new things.
And a topped off snack bag.
And you got a topped off snack bag. You're ready to go because we have all the gear, all the, you need. We got the boats. You want to try new boats? We got new boats. We got all the different designs. We can take all the different rivers that we're permitted to work on, and we'll do it.
All right.
It's super fun. And I just love seeing people grow, and I love seeing people stoked, like I feel like sometimes I call myself a stoke dealer, like, oh, we didn't hear I'm just dealing some stoke. Like, you need some stoke? I got some stoke.
What you got?
Yeah.
I got some of this stoke. I got some of this stoke.
Stoke right here, dude. And if you want some, I got some, and I'll get you. I will hook you up with some stoke. And I just love it. Like, being able to sit in the parking lot and deal stoke at the Ocoee Takeout is so much fun. And, you see people like catching the stoke and like, yeah, I want some more stoke. And then I love seeing people who have come to ACE, who become part of the ACE community, or, they call it the Shark Tank, hanging out like you're super, you're in the niche of the ACE community. Yeah. And now they're like, they don't need lessons anymore. They're going kayaking on their own. They got their own community, their own group, their own friend group. They're on their own trips.
Yep.
And I just love seeing those people like come through the program and just learn how to just do it. and they learn how to love it,
Mm-hmm.
and then share that love to other people. And we have some people have been taking lessons from Joe for over a decade, and they're coming back and they're doing the steamers roll clinics on Thursdays, and they're in the water teaching roll classes for free.
Yep.
And it's like so cool to see people just like, oh yeah, now I'm hooked on kayaking because of Ace. Now I'm hooked on the kayaking community because of Ace, and now I'm hooked on giving back to the same community because of Ace.
Yep.
And that's just something super cool to
The kayaking
experience.
community is the best.
It's
the
so
best
good.
people in the world.
And I'm always blown away by how tight knit it is.
It's 500 of your closest friends.
Right? Everybody talks about where like the 5 degrees of separation.
It's
It's like for
There's
the
like
global population.
1.5 in the
Yeah, I would
kayak
say the
community.
kayak
Yeah,
is like, it's
yeah.
got to be at least 1 degree
Yeah.
separation between every kayaker. It's like, oh yeah, I know that.
They're like, oh, you know so-and-so? Yeah, dude.
Absolutely.
Like, he taught me he took me down this for my first time. I'm like, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so good. Like I would, went back and watched your episodes before this podcast, and I was like, oh yeah, Kurt's cool, Eric's cool,
Yeah.
Keith's cool. Like, like I didn't know your oncologist friend who you brought on,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that guy. But I was like, he has some great thoughts. And
That guy is so smart.
super intelligent. I can pick up.
So smart. And like, I didn't realize he was such a baller in the slalom world. Like, when he was a
Never
teenager and like early adult, he was just out there getting after it, like competing. And so Dirk's trying to get me into slalom, and I'm just so bad at it because it's all your hips. It's like, it's so flowy. It's more athleticism than it is. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I've been trying to get into it a little bit just because it's something new. It's a new aspect of it, but
Yeah,
I'm so bad.
it's super hard to get into.
Yeah.
The boat is pretty expensive, so you gotta
Yeah.
have like that avenue to find a boat. Or somebody's gonna let you borrow their boat.
Yeah.
Get a used boat.
He's been letting me borrow his,
That's nice.
thankfully.
Nice. And you gotta have a place to do it.
Yeah.
Chattanooga has 0 gates. And so like, where are you gonna learn how to slalom paddle in Chattanooga besides driving over to the NOC?
Yeah.
And I know the Knoxville kids just put up a new course at Seven Island State Park, but like that's 2 hours from Chattanooga. We're
Yep.
not going up there for a day.
I'm pretty sure Dirk and there's another guy, but they funded all that. He built all like there's a dude that's putting in the work, making it happen. But I think Dirk was kind of masterminding that and trying to get that happen.
Okay.
To try to get like a place where you could go year round almost and just get after work and go get a lap.
And run some gates. Because
Yep.
running the gates is, complicated.
Yep.
Even on class 1, class 2 whitewater, it's like, oh, cool. The whitewater is easy, but I think that's like one of the things that I love most about slalom kayaking. And coming up in Alabama, we had the Alabama Cup Series, which was like 3 races on the Mulberry and the Locust Fork. That experience of like learning how to make really hard, challenging moves on class 2 whitewater, I felt really set a lot of people up for success of like learning how to push themselves way outside of their skill set, way outside their comfort zone, but with 0 consequences. Yeah. You can put up a class 4 move on a class 2 rapid, but if you miss that move, you're going to bump the pole. You're going to get a 2-second penalty.
Yep.
You're not going to flush into the undercut.
Correct.
But if you learn how to make that class 4 move on that class 2 rapid, suddenly that class 4 move becomes a little more obvious when you get to class 4. It's like, oh, wow, that peel out seems now more intuitive. I need to carry my momentum out of the eddy and onto the tongue and away from, the curler.
Yeah.
Those things kind of make sense. Like when you've learned how to push yourself and challenge yourself on class 2, well, then class 3 becomes that much easier. And I teach my students same way I kind of teach my boys. It's like, it's good to like develop a concept of mastery. Mm-hmm. And I teach math at St. Nicholas kind of the same way. I have a lot of really intelligent children who come through my program, and I have a lot of good kayakers who come to ACE. And kind of the thing that I always refer to is Dr. Kahn from the Kahn Academy has this theory of teaching mastery. It's not about checking a box and moving on to the next skill. It's about truly mastering that skill before you move to the next skill. And, mastering takes hours and hours and hours of practice. This new brain rot thing, dedication builds steez is like my new slogan that I've been preaching. Dedication builds steez. Like, and to build steez, like you have to have this dedication. You have to be dedicated to the process. You have to be dedicated to mastering these concepts, and you have to be dedicated to mastering class 1. Mm-hmm. And do it till it's boring. And when it's boring, do it backwards.
Yep.
And if you can't do it backwards, try to attain that class 1 rapid. And it's like, once you really feel like you've mastered those class 1, 2 skill sets, great. Again, do it again.
Yeah.
And if you think you're ready to move to class 3, well, why don't you try a class 2 plus? Mm-hmm. Or why don't you, again, try to run it backwards. Or how about you try to run it without a paddle or just do one blade? I have a lot of kids, come through the ACE. I'm like, oh, cool, you're right-handed. How about you try to run this rapid with only left strokes? And they're like, what? And suddenly now the Okoe is hard again. Yeah. And so, I can't do that. I was like, cool. How about you give me your paddle? And let's see how good you are out here now without a paddle. Like, can you do it? Can you do it backwards? Could you do it with your hands? And so I feel like really, truly mastering Class 1 and Class 2 has set up not only my boys, but my students at ACE and my students in the classroom, for just success moving down the road because they have this like super strong foundation that they built these mastered skills on. And everybody's like raving about the boys, like, oh, man, they're so good at kayaking. Like, wow, and it comes back to this like, 10,000 hours protocol.
Right.
The people's like, I think it's like 10,000 hours of school to get your PhD from kindergarten or something like that. It's like, that's how much time it takes in a classroom to really master a skill. And I just look at the thousands of hours my kids have like of seat time in the kayak. And I keep pushing my students at ACE. I'm like, it's not about the experience or the adventure. Sometimes it's really just about seat time. Like, how much time are you actually spending in the kayak working on this technique, even feeling the boat, feeling the paddle? Because the more you experiment with it, the more you're going to feel.
There's no substitute for experience.
And so the seat time is going to be the biggest, indicator. And everybody's always like, oh, well, how do I get better at this? Or how do I do this? Well, you just go.
Yeah.
You start going, find someone who's better than you, find someone who's going to mentor you, and just keep going kayaking, put the skirt on and go. And so I do that with my students at ACE, do it with the boys. Like, hey, the only way you're really going to learn how to do this is if you just
do it.
Put your running shoes on and let's hit the trail. And we'll work through it,
Man,
we'll
I've been a huge fan of yours, watching you raise your boys. Like,
likewise,
your students, like the whole, just how you and Jessica like live your life, how you guys run your whole systems with your calendar, and just, I know I bump into you at some of the film festivals or like some of the whitewater stuff in Chattanooga, but dude, keep doing what you're doing. I'm a huge fan, so
thanks, Chad.
Much respect.
Yeah, likewise.
Thanks for coming out.
I got you.
Hey,
absolutely, man.
Thanks for coming out and making the trip.
Dude, it was an easy trip. And Clear Creek Canyon was in today. It was good. It was easy. Like, oh, cool. We'll come up there and go paddling.
Yeah.
It's not that far from Cross Hill.
All right, we'll get you out of here. Safe trip.
Thanks.
Hey, if you guys love the show, you want to see more of it, it does take a bit of effort to produce this content. So if you want to let us know maybe a potential guest to see in the future, or just want to let us know how you like it, leave us a review, leave us a comment on YouTube. Just let us know what you think. We're going to keep adding more guests and try to get more people in here and keep talking to more and more individuals who are outdoor extreme sports athletes or endurance athletes who also push the limit in career and professional endeavors as well. So just drop us a line, let us know what you think, or let us know a recommendation for someone on the show, and we'd love to read those.